Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a historic winter storm. And yes, I'm using that term with no second thought because it's gonna be historic. This thing, we haven't seen a system of such nature, I would say, in at least a few years. This thing will be dropping a widespread, not localized, a widespread swath of over 2 feet of snow across multiple large cities and essentially covering a good third, maybe even more of the country in some sort of a winter weather alert. We're covering mass population areas under some weather concern, either sleet, freezing rain, heavy snow. I don't think we've seen such a storm since, well, the most memorable one is 2015, where we saw a massive, very similar developed system. I do believe there probably were some systems that were equally as large in the past, definitely not in the past 2-3 years though. As this thing, it's incredible. And you may be wondering why I haven't uploaded many more videos about this. Well, I've been extremely busy, a little chaotic time in my life, but I will be now uploading a bit more. Obviously, probably not every single day, but with such a large system and with more systems behind this one, maybe not as large, but equally big, I will be uploading a lot more frequently. Let's begin and start talking about the Northwestern United States. You may be wondering, why am I talking about the Northwest? Well, as it said at the beginning of the video, and if you're a returning viewer, you shouldn't be surprised by this, I divide my videos into regions. So if you're from the North Central United States, use the scroll bar or go to the description box below and click on your region, and you will be skipped. You will skip ahead without having to know what's happening across the Northwest, and I will be just talking about your region. It gives you more detail, allows me to give you more detail about your region, and it saves you time. Otherwise, you would have to spend 30 minutes on this video. If you want to, go ahead and knock yourself out. That is obviously very welcomed. Okay, so the main thing we are looking at right now is across the Northwest. This is the GFS model. I will be showing you mainly the GFS here and what the National Weather Service thinks will be happening because it's not far out. As you see, this system made landfall today. It's already dropping a lot of rain, tons of snow across British Columbia and Alberta, Canada, just beginning across the Northwest. Notice as I quickly bring this into motion across night and into early tomorrow, we see a lot more snow across Montana, the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, into the North and South Dakota. Notice into Nevada, this thing spreads. It has a lot of moisture. There's quite a bit of cold air, relatively speaking, for this time of the year across the Northwestern United States, rendering a lot of this falling as snow, very minimal liquid precip. So Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, all these states and areas are covered in tons of winter weather alerts, advisories. I mean, this map by the National Weather Service is nothing short of, impressive. Potentially something that hasn't happened, at least in my remembrance, for at least a few years. It's incredible. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little too excited. I realize that, but you could see Montana, the whole entire state of Wyoming, much of Idaho, Oregon, Washington, there into both of the Dakotas, into Nebraska. So this thing is nothing short of historic. Again, will be remembered as a massive system. Now notice this thing isn't necessarily slow moving or fast moving. It hangs around for a while, especially across Wyoming, Idaho, northern Utah, Montana. Do note that the showers could still linger across the coastal states of Washington, Oregon, well into Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This thing finally pulls out of Wyoming, Montana by Thursday, but notice that we have a second piece of energy there that starts developing across the coast, and it really never stops snowing across potentially areas in Oregon and Washington, especially western areas, through much of the week, as the system doesn't necessarily move east, but it moves to the south and then to the east. So by the time all is said and done, let's just stop it at Saturday. Again, I won't go into individual cities. That's just I do not have enough time for that. But do note that for the total snowfall accumulations, they are very copious. And this is assuming a 10-to-1 liquid ratio, which I would say is not accurate. It's going to be fluffier snow regardless. You can see where the heaviest snow will be falling. The National Weather Service is a lot more aggressive with these snowfall amounts, and it's for a very good reason, because they are estimating proper snowfall ratios on this. The Northwestern United States, let me zoom in on here for you. It shows California as well, but for the Northwest folks, let's focus in on, you can see Montana, Wyoming, mountain ranges over several feet of snow, but even the lower lying areas, a foot and a half in some area. Some won't see any at all. That's typical with the Northwest, but a decent to a very large system for the Northwest. And again, the scope of this thing is what makes this thing legendary. But again, I wouldn't say it may not reach its legendary status across the Northwest. That's going to be more reserved, as the whole entire system, as what it does across the North Central United States is insane, but still very impressive across the Northwest. Same thing with the Southwest. This may not necessarily be a historic system for you guys, because what it does later on across the central and eastern portion of the country is more legendary, but it's still going to be one of the largest systems that has hit the Southwest this year, and that does say a lot, as the Southwest has seen incredible storms this year. Do note, again, this thing is not necessarily going to be blasting off the ocean. It's going to be coming in from the north, but notice, no problem bringing tons of snow into Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, into Colorado, southern Wyoming, into New Mexico, Nevada, and into, you can see California also picking up a little bit of that rainfall, though more importantly, I want to note for California, as obviously there's a lot of people there, and I have some viewers from there, you guys are going to get skimmed from this first one. You're going to see some snow, but for you, the bigger part of the story starts on Wednesday to Thursday, as kind of a separate piece of this system starts working down the southeast coast, or sorry, down towards the southeast, along the western coast here, and that will exaggerate some of the snowfall impacts. But I guess the system itself will be really targeting the Four Corners area and eastward, Utah, again, Colorado, Wyoming, several waves of this very, very heavy snow, pretty prolonged, moves out of here by late Wednesday into Thursday. But as I was saying, you can see that system across the southeast coast. This one will bring more snow for California and the Southwest as opposed to this first one. But notice, this thing's gonna be very slow moving and hang around for a while, bringing more snow and precipitation, with another one on its heels by the time we get into next week. Monday, total snowfall by that time, legendary amounts, across all mountain ranges. Notice, especially with that second one across Southern California, extreme snowfall amounts, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming. Again, nothing short of impressive. And again, let's take a look at some of the snowfall accumulations from the European model. Again, this isn't necessarily too far out for the Northwest, so they're in rather agreement. You can see overall a very snowy event. For details, obviously go to the National Weather Service. I won't be going into specific cities here, as there are many metros with many areas of heavy concentrated population, and I just don't have that time. Another thing I want to note, you guys will be suffering with strong winds here across the Southwest. You can see this isn't a high wind watch or a high wind advisory. This is a warning. This means peak gusts, you can see 80. The higher you go in elevations, they'll also be very strong. That's not unheard of, but 80 is very, very strong. Las Vegas, right? A large city, a large metro here, and you can see that. Precipitation-wise, you guys may not get so much from this first wave, but again, it's going to be those winds that are going to indicate to you, well, something's going wrong. Notice the National Weather Service for Wyoming. This is the percent probability of 6 inches or more. You can see very few areas that don't have at least 50% or higher, and this is 12 inches or more. So, maybe the low-lying areas, you guys start seeing some lower probabilities, if not very unlikely, but the, Old Faithful, the Grand Tetons, Yellowstone, all these mountain ranges and ridges, you guys will be easily seeing a foot and a half to 2 feet probably, maybe some isolated amounts of 2, 3, 4 feet. So let's now move on into the north central United States. So this is an area where I truly believe this system will reach historic status. All right, let's take a look at this. Notice Tuesday, February 21st. So again, tomorrow we already have the first of the snow moving into both of the Dakotas, spearheading into Minneapolis, right, Minnesota, Wisconsin, northern Iowa, maybe extreme northern Illinois with some snow showers there. But notice this thing starts kind of balancing out, becomes from being tilted negatively into being tilted. You can see just not tilted at all. And this snow by itself will be already, snowing through Tuesday into Wednesday morning. And do note that we do quickly see, obviously, very strong winds from the south, so we quickly see the moisture, the southern moisture component of this joining in on this snowfall. Notice at this point in Nebraska, South Dakota, you guys are in on some very, very heavy snow. We do have potentially some ice breaking out across northern Illinois, central Iowa, maybe northern Indiana, northern Ohio, but because of how strong this warmer air push is, that will probably override. Some areas could get crippling ice amounts if they stay as freezing rain the whole time. I don't know, the GFS makes me doubt this because of how strong this push will. A lot of this will be literally thunderstorms here, so some of this may just be falling as rain. Though again, the ice is still obviously a concern. But I mean, these amounts. Let's not forget what's happening back here, because here it's been snowing the whole time. While yes, we're seeing some incredible action of very heavy rain for the southern areas into Illinois, Missouri, here, Ohio, Indiana. You guys won't necessarily be seeing much snow out of this. But again, the ice, Detroit, you guys could see several hours of this, and you don't even need a quarter of an inch of ice to produce some pretty bad travel conditions. All you need is a glaze. So that is something to keep in mind. You obviously notice Minneapolis, you guys are constantly being hammered by the snow well into Wednesday. So I would say this thing reaches incredible status by Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. During the overnight, right into Thursday, some of this rain abates from Illinois, Missouri, moves into Indiana, Ohio. Notice the cold air here is stubborn, so some areas could pick up several inches of sleet, maybe a few quarters of an inch of ice, which would be very bad, but it's possible. Notice Wisconsin, Minnesota, you guys are still seeing this snowfall. It starts again separating through Michigan there, a little bit of a break into the day on Thursday, and then this thing, the last of it, kind of moves off towards the east by Friday. So this thing is going to take up the whole week. And let me just play this out into for you into kind of quicker motion. So again, you can see some of these areas will be literally seeing snow for 48, 72 hours, which is nothing short of incredible. Total snowfall amounts, again, these are assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. A lot of this will be falling at higher ratios, assumes a pretty incredible event here. Ignore this right here. You can see the GFS shows 17 there, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. That's not going to happen. That's what happens sometimes if there's ice falling and the GFS takes it as snow, or takes the liquid that falls but measures it as snow. So ignore that. I'll show you a more accurate forecast of what's probably going to occur. But this is what the GFS shows, the European, in terms of its snowfall outlook. Also very, very, very heavy snow. Again, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, not really accurate. I would say that the most accurate forecast is, well, the National Weather Service and what they have pointed out here. Let me switch the region here towards the north central United States. Let's see. I don't think they may not even have one here. So let's just go for the whole entire United States here. And do note that for the next 72 hours, what the National Weather Service shows is 2 feet of snow for Minneapolis. And again, this is for a large area, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Many areas getting a foot and a half. Plus, some of these amounts are probably poised to increase. And notice all of South Dakota, at least a foot of snow. Most of Nebraska seeing some snow. The northern areas, potentially over half a foot and even a foot. Most of northern central Wisconsin seeing a foot and a half plus. Northern Michigan, all of the UP seeing a foot and a half plus. So again, it'd be interesting to see 17, 18 inches across a small swath, but this is across multiple states, large regions, and obviously this does not include Canada, but you too here across Quebec and into Ontario. Quebec will be seeing some very, very heavy snowfall amounts. So this is something that is going to be, again, nothing short of extremely impressive, again, historic. Let's take a look at some of the some of the data from the European model. So again, this is a separate model from the model I was showing you, which was the GFS. Often they disagree, but they've actually done a remarkably let's just say good job for this winter storm. Notice, there it is. There's the European model introducing that snow at the same time frame as the GFS tomorrow during the day for Minnesota, early in the morning, and maybe even late today across portions of, again, the Dakotas there. And you can see that snow starts spreading into Wisconsin, Minnesota. We start seeing some vigorous thunderstorms on the southern side. That icing threat, the European also shows that, especially I'm concerned across southern Michigan there. Do note into Wisconsin, it's still snowing here into Minnesota. So again, there's going to be a giant moisture surge of precipitation kind of out ahead of the low pressure itself, which is way back here, which is why some of these areas will be seeing such a prolonged event of snow for so long. And you can see that there's that final push and it leaves. So very, very similar to the GFS. And again, the precipitation amounts are going to be also significant. In terms of the rain, some areas could see quite a bit, especially Iowa, Kansas here into Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, 1 to 2 inches of rain. Some areas have seen quite a bit of rain in the past, a few storms here, so this could cause some localized flooding issues. Nothing too incredible though, it seems, as again, this thing's relatively progressive on the rainy side, and in terms of the snowy side, not so much. So that is that. Let's now go again. Here's one last look. Again, this thing gets updated hourly, so this is probably still going to change. I don't really see it changing any way significantly that would alter the status of this system as being so legendary. In fact, I'd probably expect these amounts of inch northwards. There's already winter storm warnings for, say, Minneapolis. Notice there's advisories further north here, right? But don't be deceived. You still guys will see some snow. Some of it will be pretty heavy. Again, there could be a little event today, but the main one watching is further out here, 1 to 3, maybe 3 to 5 inches. But obviously, I would say the heaviest is going to be towards, well, the Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities area. Look what they have here, 18 plus snowfall potential of 83%. That's pretty incredible, guys. So if you live across Minneapolis, this is the storm you guys have been wanting and praying for years. I don't believe you've seen a 2-foot snowfall event, at least at this widespread scale, in a while. Probably at least, again, a few years, if not more. And again, there's still a lot of details are yet to be resolved here. For Chicago, again, maybe some freezing rain, and then some rain for southern Wisconsin. Again, it's a concerning ice threat. So again, we'll have to wait and see what exactly occurs there. And again, southern Michigan there, I'm really concerned across these areas because some of this freezing rain here could be concerning, to say the least, the amounts of it that falls. All right, let's move on now to the south central United States. So for the south central United States, you guys won't be seeing snowfall, right? But you guys will be seeing impacts from the system nonetheless. Let's start off with the GFS, or start off by showing you the National Weather Service forecast. Notice you guys don't have too much issued in terms of advisories. There are some red flag warnings and some high wind warnings for Texas, and that's the main story here. That's going to be warm because of all this surging moisture towards the north. Incredibly warm, potentially 70s and 80s out ahead of this thing, and also very strong winds, so that could cause some red flag warnings and just wind damage. Notice the rain really erupts early Wednesday, throughout the day on Wednesday. Again, doesn't affect everyone. You can see there will be a corner here across Kansas, Oklahoma that doesn't pick up much, but you can see this thing will have limited severe weather. It doesn't seem like a massive event, but definitely something to keep an eye on for. And again, there's going to be some cooler that moves in on the backside of this. Nothing unprecedented though, and probably still warmer than average for February standards. So in terms of the south central U.S. impacts, again, precipitation targeting Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas there, but most areas actually be kind of being unscathed. So for you, this may not necessarily be as legendary as for some other areas across the United States. And I could show you the HER model, which goes out 48 hours. It's still processing, but it's showing the beginnings of the system. And again, I'm trying to show you that there will be some rain here across Texas into Wednesday, but a lot of it gets avoided, and it really only starts erupting into Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas there, and that's when it'll start really heavily raining as it drags on towards the eastern United States. The European model for you guys also showing a bit more precipitation than, say, the GFS, but there we go. Never mind, that was from a separate system that's going to be coming in next week. So again, limited amounts from the European, and the National Weather Service, again, doesn't show any snow for you guys. And in terms of rainfall, it does show some rain. And let's go, total precip. You could see right there, boom, some of it could be pretty heavy. All right, let's move on now and start talking about the northeastern United States. This is an area that will also be dealing with impacts from this system potentially, and also a very, very legendary manner, if I don't say so. So let's move on to the GFS and play this out. So for now, you guys will be dealing with a little bit of activity from some smaller systems. That's nothing really too much to worry about. The main system starts moving in on Wednesday with some rain across much of these areas. Again, it won't necessarily be a heavy snowmaker for a lot of the northeast here, but what we do start seeing is potentially a lot of snow breaking out into the northern areas of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. There will be gradual spread towards the north with that rain, so some areas may start off as snow, then spread to rain. We could see New Hampshire, Vermont. You guys could stay in as snow for the whole time period. Toronto, maybe starting off with snow, very heavy snow, potentially converting to some ice. There you can see some sleet. Further up north, across the St. Lawrence River Valley, a very heavy snow event, maybe not reaching Quebec, say, but Montreal, Ottawa, those cities will definitely be picking up some snow. Notice, again, a mixture potentially towards Boston and whatnot, kind of a sloppy mix there. So after we see that first wave move through, you can see, again, a lion's share of that snowfall amount will be occurring, for a lion's share of the snowfall for a good portion of the Northeast will be occurring with that first wave. Notice across their Lake Ontario, rain and sleet further south. It doesn't seem like a massive icing event for the Northeast here, which is good. But notice Vermont, New Hampshire, mainly snow. And in that second wave, boom, right there, you can see pretty weak. It's not as strong as that first one, but brings more snow northern southwestern, to the northern areas, and nonetheless still bring some impact. So total snowfall for the GFS, ignore these amounts here. This is too high. This is including kind of sleet and ice, and GFS always misestimates these. But there could be some strong snowfall, heavy snowfall for, say, Toronto, southern Canada, up along the St. Lawrence River Valley into the northeast here. Some foot, maybe even more amounts of snow possible. Notice the National Weather Service shows 8-10 inches. And again, this is still far out here for the northeast, so I would not be surprised if the National Weather Service updates these amounts and increases them. Unfortunately, it doesn't show the southeastern Canadian areas, but you could assume that, you know, cities like Toronto could in fact pick up quite a bit of snow out of this. And that is definitely something we'll have to watch for, because if you look at a model like the European with its with its runs and its snowfall, let me click on this and show you this. The Kuchera, the new one, you can see that this one shows more snow here for the Toronto area. This may be a bit far towards the north, though. Again, you can see the National Weather Service. Remember, it was showing these amounts further north than what the European shows. But again, the track could still shift, so this is still something we'll have to watch for. And again, many areas will just end up seeing some rainfall. And again, that doesn't necessarily seem too big, but still nonetheless some impacts. Last region is the southeast. For you guys, there's a silver lining to this thing, really. The impacts won't be that great, and in fact, it won't really even impact a lot of the southeast, this major system, historic one. Notice winds will be strong, and the temperatures will warm. That will impact almost everybody, temperatures compared to the anomaly. You can see that that's going to be one area that's going to be impacted greatly by this. So temperatures are going to be very, very warm for, even February standards, 70, 80, 90s towards Florida. And the precipitation, rain, the cold front that's associated with it peters out. So not much for you guys here. But the pattern stays active. And about the pattern regarding that, oopsies, I want to go to the long range here and just show you that after the system moves through, we see another one come through. Again, the Pacific Ocean is just constantly pumping in tons of moisture. So is the Gulf of Mexico. You can see the winds are pretty much constantly off of it. And there's a lot of cold air towards the north. So any of these winter storms potentially that get going will have a lot of precipitations with them. Do notice that it's only a few days in between where these systems do not occur, and they're pretty much frequent and constant. So again, details are still very unsure, obviously, but we are pretty confident that we'll be continuing to see very active pattern. Most models show that, and again, cold, warm, battling it out. So some areas will get heavy rain, heavy snow with one system, and then rain with the other one, and then tornadoes. So again, that type of stuff. So stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated. But for now, that's basically it, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.